You're tuned into the Writing Community Chat Show, the live streaming YouTube podcast that brings you the stories of authors, screenwriters, and more. Indie or established, this show's for the community, and we invite you to be a part of it. Head to the writingcommunitychatshow.com for more info. The WCCS. Together as one, we get it done.
Hello, my name's Chris. You're watching the 200th episode of the Writing Community Chat Show. What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's show. It's really exciting to be here today for a couple of reasons, really. The fact that it is the 200th episode of this show is kind of blown my mind, and I didn't really realize that until kind of recently. And 200 episodes, I mean, we've just gone over 2 years, so 200 episodes, and during that time I've been able to interview some amazing people. And yeah, 200 in the chat there. Happy 200. Thank you guys for tuning in and in the chat there. I love engaging you guys and seeing you there on the live show. We are still waiting for my guest to arrive in the green room, so please bear with my rambling for just a few minutes. Yeah, 200 episodes. Let's get on and talk about that a little bit. So we've heard some amazing, wonderful life stories from these authors that have been on the show. Indie authors, established authors, celebrities, screenwriters, and many more different people from different backgrounds. And we've heard their writing advice, their writing tips, and we've laughed until we've cried. And I've worn many weird and wonderful outfits during the show. I'm pretty sure I showed my bum at one point. And it's just been a bit of an exciting, fun journey that entire time. And you know, it's growing, and every time you kind of leave a review or you recommend it to somebody with word of mouth, or you leave a tweet even, it does help to grow the show. And that's all down to you guys, you know, that extra work and the expansion that, you know, I don't pay for promotion or ads, so this all goes word of mouth and comes from you guys. So let's have a little look in the chat. Mario, hello Mario, nice to see you here. Leah's here as well. 200 episodes. Thank you for the celebration emojis in there as well. Funnily enough, I've also put this out onto Facebook and to Twitch at the same time, streaming, which I don't normally do. So I'm going to see if that makes any sort of difference. And ironically, on the day that happens, in true WCCS style, there is no guest in the green room at the moment, and that could be for many reasons. But I've got a lot to talk about anyway. Also exciting, the Indie Takeover has officially launched its first final poll. And if you're not aware of the Indie Takeover, this is something that I've now launched on Twitter as a sister account to the Writing Community Chat Show. It's all about building up somebody within the writing community, whether they're an indie author, established, well, more indie authors, the Indie Takeover, but someone might have released 1 book, 2 books, 3 books, 5, and be at some stage in that sort of journey. And the Indie Takeover is something to encourage the community around the writing community to really buy into that author for the month. Buying their book and reviewing it would be an amazing thing to do. But even if we could just follow them socially and encourage them and support them and all of these great things, then good things will come of that. And as I mentioned, with the show growing and possibly, you know, growing bigger and bigger and bigger with more supporters that tune in, the more support there could be towards the Indie Takeover. And at some point that could turn into, who knows, marketing support, or, you know, throwing editors towards them that we funded somehow with your guys' support. So all those things are amazing. And so 200 episodes, the Indie Takeover, it's a real fun week. You can find the way to vote for those 4 authors that have been put forward on my webpage, which is the Writing Community Chat Show at .com. Halfway down the page, you'll see a Google form which you can fill out, and it'll tell you who the 4 authors are. And you got about a week and a half until that gets finished up, and then we decide that author from the polls. That author will have a 15-minute interview on the show if they want to, an entire page, dedicated page on the writingcommunitychatshow.com website, and I'll review their book, and I'll prompt you guys to do the same. And it'd be great if we could all read it and make it a bit of a book club as well. So there's potentially a huge benefit to this for the indie author that gets chosen. Let's have a little look at the chats here. Again, tonight's guest, still not turned up. So, and put this out there. If any of you guys want to jump in, you are welcome to. Let me know in the chat. Brandon's in. Hello. Alison, hello. Indie Takeover. Yeah, woo. Indeed, this is very exciting. And you may not have seen the names in there. One of our own sort of members. I'm not members because that sounds like I'm being very biased. I'm not at all. This is completely open. And it's voted by you guys, not me. But Lala Love, who has been on this show before, she's actually one of the 4 that were chosen by random by the Ninja Picker, which is a brand new little thing that I did. So she is in there. Hello, Halo. Nice to see you here as well. And Linda. I nominate Mario. He was supposed to be a guest before the PC issue. He was indeed. But surely Mario deserves his own show, although he has been on the show numerous times before. And we do love to see him. And Halo, I promised her that she can come back, being our first ever guest on the show. Guest number 1. I'm sure some of you might not notice that or have known that. Guest number 1 ever. She is a legend of the WCCS. And there she is. Hello, everybody. What else? There was something else I wanted to talk about as well. Mario says, I got a Twitch notification too. Yeah, that did go out on Twitch. I just saw it on there as a list. Something StreamYard, guys, if you're into any sort of YouTubing, it's wicked for that reason. And he says also, love you, Chris. Mario, thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Let's see what it was. Mario, the original Chaos, too kind. Next round, I'll nominate several. There's a lot of good indie authors out there. Indeed, this show, the Indie Takeover, we will select our indie author, and of course, through the next month of July, we will promote that author massively. But during that month, there will also be another round of polls for the August run, so you can enter that. But what I'm going to do is kind of make that a bit more accessible, because it was down to fantasy this time. We're going to try and pump that up so more people get the option. Hello to you, Shahid. I believe I'm pronouncing that okay. Normally I don't pronounce names well, so probably not. Hello, I also want to be a writer, but I don't know how I can be one. There is a lot of advice that's been given on this show. If you'll find our pinned video on the YouTube channel, actually, there's advice from writers on there from the community. The biggest thing every author that's come on this show and ever said for a new author that wants to step into that world is basically just do it. Whether it's get that draft out, if it's good or bad, get the draft out. Just go and do it. Even if you're a plotter, then maybe write some points down. If you're not, write the story, see how it goes, pantsing out the pantsy seats. Just write and write and write until you have a very rough draft. And then writing is all about resculpturing that, rebuilding that to make something that appeals to yourself before anybody else. If you enjoy that, I can guarantee someone else will. And that's kind of what you want to do. So Tony Kent, in fact, says on that video, the best advice he ever got was from somebody that said start at the end as well. I never did that, but I love how he put that metaphor across. Starting at the end gives you the power to place little stepping stones along the way to the end. It gives you a whole range of accessories to intertwine the story and put twists in there as well. So that's another possible thing there. Terry says, I hate the term pantster. I'm a pantster. I'm definitely a pantster, but I don't say I hate the term. Strange. It is a strange term. The writing works. Like Leah says, it got me to draft 6 on a short version of Rainbow Black. I still have a long way to go until I finish the whole novel. So yeah, I think just getting it down, writing and writing and writing builds you a skeleton. Then you put the meat and flesh on afterwards, and then you do the hair right at the end, if that makes sense. That's a real weird analogy. Mario says, I've been trying the save the cat method, but I find it more difficult than my pantsy ways. Yeah, Save the Cat is a well-known way of doing things, and there are books, by the way, to that question earlier, books on that if you want to read that. You can do. Mario, if you do want to come on the show, drop me a tweet right now and I'll send you the link, because it looks like our guest, as it's been done before, may just even get the time zone wrong on that one. So, guys, I apologize, but it gives us a chance to celebrate show 200. And I'm clearly drinking apple juice, and that is it. Okay. In my tweets, Mario, my Twitter page, Leah says no, save the cat, with an exclamation mark in there. The name just gives me chills. Okay, so I'm guessing that's a bit of a touchy one or a difficult one. Alison says I'm a discovery flashlight writer, which is something I've never heard of, which is much nicer to the ear than pantster. And yeah, I'm a pantster. Discovery flashlight writer, I do like that. That says to me that you're using the flashlight to find where you're going, and that's how I feel when I'm writing in the world, because I'm guided by the characters. So yeah, that kind of makes sense. Halo says take off the pants and go on, in reference to Mario coming on the show. Brandon says apple juice. And Linda says adult apple juice. No comment. I do not condone drinking. Mario has just tweeted me, so stand by. I'm going to invite him onto the show, and I hope for our sakes that he has got his pants on. So guys, let's check this out. And I do like the way he said, "I'll do it, Christ." A very close name to mix up, but I don't think he's actually assuming that I am Christ. Okay, Terry says, for me, I do both planner and pantster. This is something I've heard a lot of recently as well. I sketch out the whole story over a few pages and then fill in the other 100,000 words on the fly. Interestingly, my two novellas are only 36,000 words. So between the two of them, I've not got close to 100,000. If anyone has some advice on writing something bigger than that, then let me know, because I see the story, I write it, and then it's like, that's the end. And they're not all big. They're just not. Some short stories do very well. Okay. Adult apple juice, ? Quite possibly. 2 shows. Yes. Also, I am looking for a couple of teams for the panel show this year, this season, which is, if you haven't seen it, is 3 authors. They don't have to be authors. They have to be people within the writing community or a creative community. They could be authors. They could be comic book writers and film producers, whatever. We need 3 people and 2 teams, and those people then join together and form a team, and they fight through a funny quiz and make impressions, do silly things for points. That, if you're interested, DM me, tweet me, email me at thewritingcommunitychatshow@gmail.com, whatever you want to do, and we'll get those teams together, and I will do that. Terry says refraction was 120,000 words, and my editor cut out 20,000. Something I've never had to deal with. Interesting. So, ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize that our scheduled guest is not here. Most likely a good reason for that. So it's not the first time. It won't be the last time. It's not the end of the world, but it has a silver lining, of course, a very good one. And that is the guest that is now going to join us, a legend of the writing community, the massive Mario. Hello, Mario. Welcome to the show.
It's good to be here, Chris. I've missed you.
I've missed you too, and welcome and thank you so much. I hope Mario is all well.
I am well. I have had a very challenging few months, but I'm on the other side of it.
I'm glad to hear that, and I think a lot of people have gone through a few tough times recently, and that's kind of what we have to do, is look forward and get on with it. And it's the people around us that generally make that happen. So having you here, Mario, is a fantastic thing. And of course, the people in the audience are very much enjoying the fact that your face is on the screen.
Well, I'm glad for that. I'm glad I don't have to see my face too much, actually.
Not at all. So the first question I've got for you, Mario, it's been a while since you've been on here. You were scheduled to come on, and of course, this isn't the way that I wanted you to come on the show. But I thank you for being here anyway. I'd want to give you your own spotlight from the start, and I don't want you to feel like this is a substitute interview. Of course, we will get you back on properly. Your latest book, Letters from Italy, I haven't got round to it yet. It is a wonderful, romantic, true story about family and friends and their life journeys. How has that gone for you since release?
It's been amazing. Actually, I'm amazed that it came out in February, the end of February, and I'm amazed that even 4 or 5 months later, it's still within the top 100. Last week, it was in the top 25 in several categories, and so obviously, it's got some sort of appeal that I didn't anticipate. So I'm very excited about that. So thank you,
Fantastic.
Linda. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful story, Linda says in the comments, and yeah, that's great. And it's nice to see that something that you obviously personal to yourself and close to your heart is a story that perhaps you were. I'm not sure. Were you nervous about sharing that story at all?
Oh, that's a really good question, Chris. Yeah, there are portions of it that I was very nervous about sharing. Because for those of you who don't know, my mother and father wrote letters to each other for 2 years before they met. They were total strangers with a family connection, and so. I sat down with my mother and she just began to tell stories. She read me the letters and I transcribed them because they were obviously in Italian. Um, but there were many many stories my mother told me that were difficult.
Mm,
That when as a parent, we shield our children from danger and things that we think they don't need to know. And I discovered some of those moments through their history where they had to do just that. And so it does reveal some dark family secrets
mm.
that I had no sense of growing up. And so that was the hard part, to share that part of it, but I didn't, and my mom had, she didn't want me to include some of those stories. And we had to have a heart to heart talk about that because I said to her, Mom, what makes this story so incredible is that it is what you overcame, what
Mm.
you and Dad struggled to overcome to make your lives together so strong and make your family so strong. And I said, no one wants to just hear everything was lovely story because, well, of course, then there's no plot. You know?
Of course not. Of course not.
uh, but but it was hard. I mean, like I had to convince her. I said, this story it shows your strength, your inner strength, and your character. And I said, leaving those hard or difficult situations out won't give the reader the picture of you that I want them to know. So.
It sounds absolutely wonderful. I love the fact that you actually had and the awareness to sit there and actually had that discussion as well before just putting it out there, because I'm sure someone would have done that in the past. And you have to, obviously, when you're doing anything with a personal story to it, have to consider those people that are involved. And obviously that's a brilliant approach. Well done, correct. Congratulations on that release. I'm glad it's doing well. You deserve it, Mario.
Thank you. Thank you.
Halo says your mum's incredible, and she let us play with knives.
She does. She watched while Halo nearly stabbed me.
I loved that picture, by the way. I did see that on the social media.
Of course, I must confess, I gave the knife to Halo.
Yeah, yeah. So Mario, is there anything else happening in the world at the moment for you? Is there a new story in development?
There is. I'm actually just proofreading it right now. My next book is coming out in December 2022 by Black Rose Writing, and it's called Tilting Toward the Sun, and it's a historical fiction, if you can call it that, because it takes two guys that meet in the early 1980s and brings them all the way through the AIDS crisis and then out the other end. And so it's a very personal story in a sense, because I lived through that, and it's something that the present generation doesn't think about much. And I discovered that by teaching my high school seniors that how little they knew about that era in the the LGBTQ community, the history of that, and how that changed the world and our lives permanently. So the story is, it's gay fiction, and there's some it's a wonderful love story, but I wouldn't call it a romance. It's not romance in the strict genre sense. It's more of a love story. So.
I apologize for on my phone whilst you're talking. I'm trying not to be disrespectful here. Our guest has been in touch and they've had technical difficulties where it won't allow them to join. So there's the reason. And I'm, as I said, I'm sure it wasn't purposeful. So I will, for those who wanted to see Jane tonight, I will reschedule that and I will help her work out those technical difficulties. Something perhaps doesn't happen often with this software, but again, it is always possible. So sorry for that. But Mario, I'm glad to have you on the show as well tonight, because it's the 200th episode tonight, and it kind of feels in the WCCS history, it should be celebrated in that sense. And I kind of wish I thought about that before tonight, and obviously invited all the people of this show in the past for a little bit of a party. But we're here to celebrate as well. You've been on the show a couple of times over the years, the past 2 years, through the panel show, Notorious Captain,
which I will never do again.
And of course a couple of interviews yourself. I mean, how have you, I don't want to put you can answer this truthfully if you like. Has this show kind of impacted you in any way, or has it helped any part of your writing at all?
Absolutely. I think, first of all, when you think about the history of the show and when it began right at the beginning of COVID, or right before the beginning of COVID, and it was instrumental, if you will, from a musical perspective, instrumental in bringing me into the writing community in a more intimate way. We those of us who were very faithful to the show every week during that time. I mean, I for one, I mean, I relied upon it. It was my touchstone. It was the way that I could connect with all of you people from all over the world, which was pretty incredible. Yes. I miss Ross.
We all do.
Yes,
welcome back.
But yeah, it was and it continues to be a great vehicle for those of us in the writing community to come together and and celebrate each other, and learn from each other. You were there interviewing me for my first book, and then the second, and then the third, and the writing community chat show has been instrumental and a very significant part of my writing journey. So and there are so many people in the chat. I can't see them now, but maybe we could bring them on and have a few others join in.
I am absolutely fine with that. I will put it in the link into our VIP group, and yes. I say that lightly because I don't want to put it out to the public just in case we get someone on. I don't know, but maybe not be vetted for the show in the nicest way.
Well put.
Firstly, I'd like to say welcome back, Ross. It really is genuinely nice to see you around in the chat, and we have missed you. You've been obviously a very busy man. And also, I'd like to say Julie has just commented from Facebook. Woohoo, happy 200th. Everybody, Julie is my sister, and it is today Julie. Is her birthday.
Tanti auguri, Julie.
Oh, wow. I am assuming that means happy birthday in Italian, yes. Mario.
Literally, it's many good wishes.
Oh, fantastic. That does sound very nice. Can you say that again?
Tanti auguri. In fact, that's how they sing happy birthday. Tanti auguri a te, and then it goes on from there. So
yeah, I guess they repeat that for a while and check a name in there as the normal birthday song goes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just gonna load this up now. But I think for me, this show for myself has been instrumental through lockdown. It did start just at the start of lockdown, and for me as well, it's been that sort of every week where some weeks have been okay, some have been great, some have been bad through COVID. And I've been thinking, okay, it's near the end of the week now, and suddenly I'm chatting to people like yourself, and I'm learning a lot about your culture, about your story, about your life as well. And we're having that connection, and it's a lot of fun. And it has felt like an anchor for myself that, as rough as the seas get, it pulls me back in line as well. So I find it myself to be a very fun thing, and I don't feel like it's something that I'm giving to you guys. I almost feel like you're giving it to me, and it's like I don't know, I can't explain it very well. And Halo says a place where Ross can make dolphin noises. Precisely.
It's very interesting. I don't know that there are that many vehicles out there for people all over the world to connect with each other as this community has, and it is definitely because of your show and the way you brought us together. So
I appreciate that. Linda says this show has helped my sanity. No one I know is a writer, so I felt pretty odd without it. That's a really interesting point, because in my big scheme, my plans for one day having a writer's bar cafe, and I still haven't got anywhere with that business proposal I sent away, by the way. The idea that having somewhere to go where like-minded people are, and if you want to do it physically, there's like you said, a vehicle there for it. But this is being through lockdown, that place virtually, because we were at some stage completely unable to go out the house, and we were able to jump in here and have a virtual pub once. So it's been very helpful. And I just noticed as well, it caught my eye earlier, Harrogate Festival 2021. That's the last time me and Mr. Hooley were partners on the show. And next month I'm going back to there, and I've heard someone else is going. So we will be reunited a year later next month, which is blown my mind.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. That was a great show that when you were there last year.
It was definitely interesting. I think the shower scene is still my favorite part of that. In fact, you were involved with that scene. If you haven't seen that, guys, it is available on YouTube. It's the Harrogate Crime Writers Festival vlog, and the idea with that was to go and show people on the grounds what it's like to be at that festival. And I was going to go and do a load more of them, but I haven't got around to that at all. But it got a bit intimate in certain places. It got a bit risky in certain places in terms of taking beer there. Excuse me, we shouldn't have. So we were told off. But it was very entertaining and a lot of fun.
You definitely have to do it again.
Well, I'm not giving the spoiler away, but there will be possible opportunities for that to happen, and that's all I can say right now. And the only thing is, without Chris Hooley being my partner, I'm going there with the camera without anyone to hold it, which sounds quite sad, but I'll be able to work that out, and I'm sure people there. Amazingly, there are 11 authors that I've seen that are going to that show that have been on this show. So there's 11 people I can link up with and talk to, and there are some massive authors going there. Paula Hawkins is there, for example. There's comedians there, not quite sure why, radio DJs, and many more. So it's going to be a very interesting couple of days, and I will be sending some videos.
So it sounds like even though you're going there alone, you're going to have multiple partners.
Yeah, quite possibly. It sounds that way. Heather says, so exciting. Dolphin karaoke, was that? He didn't do karaoke, did he?
Maybe you could do that on the show.
I cannot sing at all, so that's me out of the question. Ross says, is Agate going to be asking people to hold things for him? I will be.
And that would be huge.
Okay, so Mario, for the writers that are tuning into this, of course, we always like to take some sort of advice away from the show. So what would be, if you could think about it, your biggest writing tip for someone who's just getting started with their writing journey?
So the first thing I would say is don't take everybody's advice.
Do not listen to this advice.
Right. No, because I think everybody, there's plenty of advice out there, and not all of the advice is going to work for every writer, So I would say listen to all the advice, hear it, and then glean the best of it. Take what speaks to you and works for you as you begin to write. I mean, I wrote in the chat earlier, like I'm reading or I've read the Save the Cat writes a novel. And, I was very excited about it. And I wrote down all the different things that it said to do. And then I started to write my new novel and I was immediately stuck. And I have to be honest with you, I have never been stuck on any of my books. Like I just write, and because I'm a pantser, and that's what works for me. And so I took the points and it makes some very, very good points. I took the points that spoke to me, but then the moment I let go of all of that and started writing and letting the story take me where the story wanted to take me,
Mm-hmm.
the words started coming out. So, you know, I'd say listen to as many writers as you can, but follow your own heart as to what works best for you as a writer.
I think that is wonderfully said. Finding out what works for you is probably the best bit of advice that I take from that. Because, again, when I started this journey, and the whole reason for this show existing was that I was trying to go on YouTube and find videos about how to do this, how to do that. And it wasn't until I sat down and just started writing that it worked for me. And then the more I've talked to people on this show, the more they've said the same sort of thing in some way or the other, that they've got their own style, their own techniques, and that's what works for them. So it is very much a case of having to dabble to find out what works for you. And
Yeah.
I actually once, I went away from what I write, which is kind of short story horror. And I tried writing like a police thriller, I call it that, with lots of murders and darkness in it, which is kind of what I thought I'd like to write. And I had a good story in my mind, but I really struggled to find the words.
Yeah.
Whereas both of my other novellas, they wrote the words for me. And that sounds stupid if someone doesn't write that way. But I there's my character. I'm following them. They've done this, they've done this, they've done this, they've done this. And it's very easy. When it came to that, which I wasn't kind of, I thought I was interested in, it just wouldn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I mean, this isn't something new that we're talking about. I mean, I've been a teacher for over 30 years. And what we learn as teachers is that everyone has their own learning style. And so it's the same for writing. You do what works for you. I mean, as a teacher, as a choral conductor, I go into a rehearsal and, I don't say, okay, for the first 10 minutes, I'm going to work on this. And then second 10 minutes, this. I go in and I start. And, as things develop, I go in one direction or another. And that's exactly how I write. So I teach that way, I learn that way, and I write that way. So you have to find what's right for you, what works for you. It's just like a learning style.
Do you find that the link between creating music and writing is connected, or is it something you find very separate and different?
Oh no, I think it's very connected. I approach them in a very similar manner. Even how I say, like if I'm writing, I don't write necessarily in order. I write what's in my mind at the moment, and then later I can move all the documents and the scenes around and put the connective tissue into the story. And that's how I do it when I'm teaching music. I'll go to this section and it's not necessarily at the beginning, it's right in the middle, or it might be the end. And then I go to another section and then I pull them together. that's how I create music. That's how I write. So yeah, my creative process is very similar across genres and mediums. So.
Fantastic. It's incredible to do that. What I want to suggest then, guys, is we're 35 minutes into the show. That's brilliant. And we've had a great chat already. But obviously, I wanted to get a few more of you guys involved. And I understand that if people can't do, the link is there for you if you want it. But what I'd like you to do as well is we will jump into part 3 of the show, which is community questions. We'll skip part 1 and 2. We've had our good chat. What we'll do is we'll open the floor up for questions from you guys. So I want you to get creative. You can put jokes in there. You can send us questions. You can ask us questions about the previous 200 episodes, 199 episodes. And after this little video, please have a little think and send us some fun questions that we can discuss for you guys. 1 second. Part 3. Here we go, guys. Jump into part 3. So I think I'll start off with a little joke, Mario, for you, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Some people don't get this, but some like it. So let's have a go. What is ET short for?
Well, extraterrestrial.
No, he's got little legs. Not bad. Okay. Cool.
That's my style of joke, Chris. I like those.
It's as good as it gets for me. Sorry, Mario.
No. I'm big into dad jokes.
Yeah, absolutely. So while we wait for some questions or jokes from the audience, have you got any questions, Mario, for myself maybe, or for anyone in the audience?
Well, let's see. What would be what's your dream as far as the writing community chat show? What's your dream? What's your major goal?
So the business plan that I put out was basically the dream that I want this show to become, and that was the name of that was not decided. So there's no real name to it, but I call it the Writers Cafe. And I've seen around the world there are some. I did research, but they're very much they're kind of like a cafe, normal, with a few books, and then people go in there. And that's what a generic writers club is in my mind. What I wanted to create was a creative lounge, and that sounds a bit upper class. This is not. So this is accessible to everybody. And what this would be was a bar, which we all love, of course. Next to that bar would be a glass-walled studio for the podcast. Outside that room would be a TV where you could watch it in there when the show is on, like tonight. And we could pull the audience out of the bar to chat to them in the studio. In the meantime, throughout the week, that would be a rented studio where we could teach people how to do that. And people could record their shows, and who knows, that could become a network itself. Then down there, one of the sides, you'd have a rows of computers where authors could write, and it had writing software on there, video tutorials about book cover design, a real place where they could go and learn. There'd be obviously a reading corner with nice sofas and chairs where it's relaxed, but possibly indie books in there as well as established books, so it really supports the community. And of course, a big workshop where people like yourself, who's a creative person, could come in and teach music, or someone could come in and teach writing, or how to paint the spines or the pages of a book, and all these kind of cool creative classes. And that was the idea that I've put forward. And I do need to still have a phone conversation with the business people. The problem with that is that the income might not be very streamlined or very good, considering how much that's going to take to put it in a very nice place and where students are, for example. So it's a big dream. It's a very big dream. And it could happen because it's very unique.
It's a fantastic idea. I love that idea. I mean, even just to be able to go and sit on the couch and read some books and have the show going on a monitor and have a beer in your hand, that sounds awesome.
Well, that's it, isn't it? I mean, there's not many places that will accommodate. You've seen, obviously, Lucifer. We're very big fans of that show.
Yes.
The Lux Bar. So in my mind, with the little corner sort of rounded chairs sections, that sort of shape and the cool little lights, but with armchairs and all different styles, so nothing kind of uniformed, and a glass of wine and a book would be lovely, and even noise cancelling headphones if you want them, and those sorts of things there. So I think it would be a very good it'd be amazing. That's the dream. So yeah, thanks for that question, Mario.
Yeah, so maybe you need to get a baby grand piano and invite Tom Ellis to come play at the
Wow. Well, you know, he is from Cardiff, you know.
I did know that. So maybe that I think he'd probably say yes.
Could you imagine if we got that to actually happen, and then suddenly we booked in the launch night and all you guys arrived, and then a guest came out to play the piano as Tom Ellis?
I don't think I'd be able to believe.
Oh, well, that would be fun. Halo said something rude, and I'll try to find it. I can't put that on there. No, I can't do that. What would you name the book bar? I don't know. It's a tough one, because you want it to sound good. Because in theory, that would be quite a nice place. It would look good. It would feel nice. It wouldn't be kind of your run of the mill bar. So you wouldn't want to call it something that didn't represent that, but you also wouldn't want it too far past the point where people would want to go in there if it's not very homely, if that makes sense. Pages and pints.
Ooh, that's good, Linda.
I like pints and pages, makes more it rolls off the tongue a little better for me.
Yeah, there you go.
Book nook, I'm sure that would have been done. Books and beer.
Or bears with books.
But the whole the creative lounge is what I initially called it, because it's all about being creative. So the authors that come in can do their book cover designs. They can write their books with writing software. They can sit in the and this is the very cool thing, the workshop. So you imagine a massive screen at the end with a teacher or lecturer or whoever, private tutor, whoever comes in, and it could be. This is the idea I had. So if they're Patreon supporters, they can have early access to these tickets for, say, an event in there. And if there's an author that comes in, wants to do a book launch in there, they can go in there in the lounge, in the workshop, and do that. But also the lessons, they'd have desks and comfy chairs in there, and they can just sit there, relax, and do the lessons themselves in there. So that would be a very, it's all about creativeness and teaching and learning. So as much as there is a community, it's also a place to develop skills. So it would be more creative directed. So that's the name I think was going in that direction.
I love this idea. Then if it gets successful, then you can franchise it, and I can open one in California.
That is actually on the plan, Mario. It is something that if it works in one place, it will definitely work in another. And there's the feedback already. People want to go to the bar.
Yeah, me too.
Authors and ale.
Ooh, that's good, Brandon. You're on fire here. What was the one Ross put out there? I missed that one.
Oh, he said bound in leather. He said, no, wait, that's a different bar.
I've been to that bar.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Thanks, Ross. Yeah, I think it would be something that has to come from. They'd have to give a lot of funding for that, and I'm not sure they would, because, like I said, the downfall of that idea. I do want to utilize everything, like the Patreon page. So if they want to use the computers, they could be free for, say, 2 hours. But if they want to stay on there longer, they have to be a patron or something like that. So There's other ways to give back to the business. And of course, all the equipment hire. There's so many ways that I could make that work. But I just don't know if that would ever be possible. So I need to make this phone call with the business people, and they would hopefully tell me, you're onto something that we really like the sound of, or it's never going to financially work. So it's going to be one of those things.
And you could actually just start it with part of your idea and then keep adding on pieces of it. That's successful.
I think the biggest thing in my mind is that if it was to be starting small and just saying, okay, we'll meet in this cafe or this bar, it is another standard book club. And whereas they're amazing, this idea is completely different. And it has to be a package for that to work, I think.
Yeah, good point.
Because you wouldn't get Tom Ellis playing in a cafe with a bunch of writers there, would you?
No. You need to make it big. It's got to be huge.
Instead of Lux, it would be called Books. I don't know. Yeah, I think there would have to be some attraction for someone like that to come in, and the type of place I want is somewhere where someone like that would be able to come in. So there was a question in there somewhere, and there's lots of talk about the name of this place now. So let's go back. It was from Halo. Okay, classic Halo. If you had to eat a human organ, because of course you'd have to, which organ would you eat, Mario?
Nice, Halo. Very nice. Let me see. Let's keep this PG-13. I'd have to say I'd eat the brain. So that, because there are some ancient cultures that believe, there is in Fiji actually, they believed, because it was that in ancient times, not ancient, but a long time ago, it was a cannibalistic society, and they believed that when they conquered another tribe, that the conquering leader would eat the brain of the competing tribe in order to gather their wisdom.
Yes.
So it would have to be the brain so I can gather the wisdom of the other person.
There was a TV program called iZombie. Did you ever see that?
I have not.
I quite enjoyed it. It was on Netflix, I think. But the idea in there was that the zombies were kind of almost undetectable in society, but when they ate one of the brains, they took on the personality of that person. And it was quite funny. It was like a comic kind of show, but interesting that probably came from something like you said there.
Yeah.
Russ says, what if they were an idiot though?
Well, we would just have to assume that if they rose to leadership, that they would be smarter than the other people in the tribe. Of course, that really doesn't hold for a number of different leaders in both our countries here.
Linda says, eat the flesh of one's enemy and gain their power.
Ooh, there you go.
So is power or mind there? Would you have power or mind, Mario? Which would you choose?
Definitely mind, because the mind gives you power.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Okay. I think I can't argue with that. I think that's going to have to be the right my answer. So thank you for that question, Halo. As dark as usual. I appreciate that. So I don't know. What would you be singing in a karaoke bar, Mario?
What would I sing in a karaoke bar? Oh gosh. Do you know, here's a really embarrassing thing that when I first started playing guitar, I think I was in 7th grade. And I was obsessed with John Denver because his guitar chords were easy enough for me to play as a beginner. And I think every song he played had like 3 or 4 chords at the most. So I'd probably start with John Denver.
Nice. How many instruments do you play, Mario?
Yeah, I'm not an instrumentalist. My degrees are in voice. All of my degrees are in voice, vocal performance. So I was, for my recitals, I had to do a full hour of singing. And then for my doctorate, I had to conduct an entire concert.
Wow.
So
I had no idea that was a thing, a degree of voice, and what a way to actually get assessed is an hour of singing.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because if you major in music, you have to choose your instrument, and piano is an instrument, of course, trumpet, and voice is an instrument. So it's just one of the instruments you choose. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, and in fact, there was a point where I never wanted to conduct um, because I wouldn't be able to sing anymore. But then once I started conduct, I was like, "Ooh, this is so much fun," you know. So I'm going out to California to start a new music program, you know, so at a new school. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
That sounds very exciting, and I have seen the kind of buzz around that on social media. Are you excited, or you are a kind of a bit apprehensive about that?
Ooh, all of it.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm sad to leave this wonderful school in New York City that I've been at for 18 years.
Wow.
Um, I developed the music program from scratch, and they travel all over the world giving concerts. And it was a very tearful goodbye in the last month and a half with my choir, with my students. So that was difficult. But I'm really excited about moving out west and
Mm.
going to a place. I mean, we lived out in San Francisco for 13 years, so this is just north of San Francisco in the wine country. So I'm excited about that, but I'm also a little apprehensive. I'm thinking, what, you know, at this point in my career, I should just be resting, you know, and enjoying the success of my choirs, and instead, I'm going to be building up again. Of course, so I'm a little nervous about that, but I get bored quickly, so it's a really good idea to have something that I have to work at. So,
Hmm.
uh,
So when you turn up at your new place, they'll be like, Mario, your reputation precedes you. They can say
uh,
that.
yes, yes, they have already.
We-
So
a few people have mentioned singing. I agree with one of them. Brandon says, I miss singing. So I'm assuming that he does that.
he does.
Uh,
He's actually very successful. He's sung for a while, right, Brandon? He's he's
okay.
he's very good.
Let us know about that, Brandon. And Linda says, which I relate to, I'm horrible at singing. Can you actually develop yourself into a good singer, or some people just can't sing?
Complicated question. I have when I first started in as a music teacher, I was in an all boys school, and I would take one of the boys that was very popular. I did this with the captain of the football team, bring him to the piano, and I'd find out which, if he couldn't hit the note, I'd find out which pitch his speaking voice was at. And then I
Okay.
would match it and then have him go a half step up, a half step down, a half step up, a half step down. So I kind of trained him to hear what was coming out of his mouth. And so, yes, you can train, you can do a lot with ear training, but you can't make something that's not pretty. So
Yeah.
there's just so far you can go with that, but you know, a lot of people can't sing because no one's ever taught them,
Hmm.
you know. So I think you should at least try, or have somebody you really trust listen to you and help you out if you want
Yeah. I'm not going to try that ever. Kevin says they say that country music consists of three chords and the truth.
it. Kevin, I think you're right.
Um, which Halo loves that comment. There was another question of Halo somewhere, and oh, there you go. Brendan says, "Yeah, I sang in Carnegie,
Carnegie Hall.
Carnegie Hall."
Yeah, it's a famous concert hall in New York City, and the the statement or phrase that everybody says, "How do you get to Carnegie Hall?" And the answer is practice, practice, practice.
Nice. Linda says, "What is your favorite song or piece of music?"
Oh, Linda, I'm
That's a hard question.
yeah, I'm so eclectic with my musical tastes. I like almost everything. Uh, um, but let's see.
I mean, it could have been easier to say what you listen to at the moment, perhaps.
Yeah, you know, I love pop music too. There's a group called The Great Big World. And they're not very well known, but I love their music. It's sort of like pop folk. Um, I love an Irish ballad singer called Mary Black. She's phenomenal. Mary, let's see. And then of classical music, I mean, I'm a Handel freak. I could do Handel Messiah forever. Bach's music on the piano is just ridiculously amazing. British composer, John Rutter, composer and conductor, one of my favorites. So there you go. Like, it's all over the place.
I really find that as I'm getting older, starting to like beer and wine, those sorts of things, I find that piano music is something that I'm really getting into at the moment.
Yeah.
And where I used to have a specific playlist for my writing with vocal songs,
Yeah.
piano music is now my way to go.
Yeah, there's something called the Mozart effect, that when you play classical music, not with in the background, classical music without vocals, they say that it gets synapses firing in your brain that help the creative process and certainly have a positive correlation with math and sciences too. So,
Wow.
yeah, so there you go. You're onto something there, Chris.
Yeah, I like that. Paul, nice to meet you. We met in Harrogate last year, amazingly. Hope you go in this year. What's the biggest no-go when writing psychological thrillers? The first thing I have to say to that is, unfortunately, Jane couldn't be with us tonight. But Mario, do you have any ideas about psychological thrillers?
It's not a genre I read because I'm
No.
very sensitive. I have nightmares.
So we can't answer that question, Brandon.
Halo
Paul,
probably
sorry.
could.
Yeah. What we can do is get back to you on Twitter, perhaps, if I can get tonight's guest. If I tweet that guest with the question, maybe she'll respond. I'm a big Luke Combs fan. Is that someone you're aware of, Mario?
No.
Okay. And he will be at Harrogate, so there you go. We'll meet again. Linda says, have you ever watched or listened to Dimash?
I have not. Now I'm gonna have to go look them up.
Something for us to do there, a bit of
Yeah.
homework. All right, there was one more question in here, so let me go find that, and then we will finish up. Because amazingly, we are nearly at an hour, which has flown by. Halo says, "What would you rather your book or books made into a movie or a TV show?"
Ooh, I love that question, Halo.
It is a great question.
Yeah.
That's such a great question, because these days, if you were gone back 10 years, you would have said movie all day long.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
now it's not the same.
No, I think because so many, like, especially after having gone through the last 3 years, so many of us love to binge watch shows. So I would have to say not a TV show per se, but a streaming service show like Netflix,
Okay.
for sure. Like, because I could see a number of my books having different vignettes for like a 30-minute show and then go on to the next episode. So I would definitely say, a streaming Netflix or Amazon show, something like that.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I think what's been more apparent this year are like 6-episode mini seasons.
Yes.
I really like those because, firstly, it's not going to drag out for 12 years like Walking Dead has. And secondly, it's got an end to it, which some shows do get cancelled 3-4 seasons in. So when there's 6 episodes and that's it, you're going to get a powerful, hopefully a good arc, a powerful arc, and that's it.
Yeah, because some shows just last too long. They go on for 1 season longer than they should have.
Or for 4 or 5. Linda says that TV makes more money, apparently.
Oh, see? So we chose well, Chris.
We did.
We just need to get somebody to do our books.
Yeah. Halo says miniseries. What's also interesting is that people who've been on the show that had their books optioned, that doesn't mean that their books are going to get on telly. So if this happens to you, don't go super excited until something starts happening, because I know some people have said they had their books optioned and for like 2 years, nothing happened at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes it fizzles out, and sometimes it actually a year down the line then gets processed. So, you know, it's amazing to get that email, I imagine, but you know, wait until it's actually being produced until you get super into it. Otherwise you might get a little disappointed. But I don't want to end the show on a note like that.
But that's very exciting. I
Yeah.
think that would be really exciting to get a show on Netflix or something. So
I think Netflix, Amazon Telly, Disney at the moment have revolutionized. They're flying with the whole series types of shows. So
Hulu too.
Oh wow!
There's so many streaming companies now.
Roku TV.
Yes, yeah.
So this show is still on, by the way. This show is on Roku TV through the Win-Win channel. It's doing all right, that channel. I think they've got a lot more work to put into it. They're quite new. They could definitely fine-tune the way it looks and things like that. But I like what they're doing there. And they do have other kind of writing shows and things on there. So maybe you want to check that out. But, you know, try and stay with us.
That's right.
Of course. Yeah, I think, guys, I just want to congratulate this show, not myself, but this show and the community within it for sticking together as it has for 2 years, because you guys really have been the driving force behind that. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart that you are here. And I do consider a lot of you my friends now, my virtual friends and family, that one day we will meet. I know we will. And just chuck this in there. Linda says, I wanted to say the letters from Italy nearly made me cry, which is a fate. Thank you, Mario, for your wonderful novel.
Thank you, Linda, so much for reading it and reviewing it. I really appreciate that. So, yeah. And I ugly cry when I read certain parts of
it. Yeah, so I just want to say thank you, and I, you know, for sticking by and being part of the show. A lot of you as well. The indie takeover is something I really feel that when things pick up even more so, it's going to be decent now. When it picks up even more, it could be a massive push for someone in that community. And I think this is what this show has always been aimed at. It's been there as a reward, as a thank you to the authors that helped me out when I started writing. I was clueless walking into that journey. And the people in the writing community, much like yourself, Mario, were there for advice to me. Yeah. And I felt so grateful for that I then thought maybe a platform for them to share their voice would be fantastic. And it has turned out to be that way, that people have come on and shared their voice and their story, which has been amazing for us all. So thank you for doing that. And the Indie Takeover is another extension to that, and that could be massive and a real way to help those people as well. So thank you. And I've got some amazing people coming up on the show as well. If you do have any suggestions of people to come on the show, whether they're indie authors or not, established screenwriters, comic book writers, musicians, anyone in the creative world, please let me know and I will see what I can do to get them on. And if you're interested, the writing community chatshow@gmail.com, drop me an email and we will see what we can make happen. So I think that for me is goodbye. And Mario, I can't thank you enough for stepping in and being an absolutely wonderful guest.
Well, thank you. Congratulations on 200 episodes. Here's to 200 more. And then,
wow, imagine 200 more episodes. We'd be like knocking on 500. That would be unthinkable at this time. But I hope it does happen.
Yeah,
we'll see. Definitely
will come.
Yeah, season 25 is coming. No, we're in season 9 now, guys. To be at season 10 next season will be incredible. So wicked, amazing. I will see you next week, and I will reschedule tonight's guest, and of course Harrogate next month. Please look out for that. I'm sure that'll be chaotic as always. Thank you for tuning in, guys. I will speak to you all soon. Bye.